everyone, Kathleen here from Kath's Relic Revival. Your Crafty Kit this month is Halloween inspired, so we're going to do a little Halloween decor for you. You'll find a block of wood like this. It's going to be painted and that'll be the base for what we're making. You'll find a fall inspired color, something similar to one of these. That's going to be to paint this. Then you'll have these three little guys. They're going to be the bases and the support for three little ghosts we're going to make. Going to make the ghosts out of this modeling clay, which is kind of fun. It's an air-dried modeling clay, different than the IOD air-dry clay that we use that dries really hard, really fast. This one is almost foam-like, so it's going to be fantastic for creating our ghosts. You will also have a brayer. That's just a really hard rubber roller. You're going to use that to help roll out the pieces for the ghosts. And what else? Oh, you'll have a light color. That'll be to paint your forms for your ghosts, and also to paint the actual clay if we need to as well. It can get really dirty. I do find with this foam clay, it picks up a lot. So for instance, my hands, as always, are covered in paint. Some of that's going to end up in this, so I do like to paint it when I'm all done. We'll do that. And then you'll also have a black to use to do the eyes and the mouth. All right. So I like to get started with the painting so that can get done, and then we can set that aside to dry. This foam clay does take a solid 24 hours, sometimes more, to actually get really firm. And even when it's fully dry, it's still going to be slightly flexible. That's just the foam nature of it. And again, why I think it's so cute to use for the little ghosts. All right, so we will start by painting this. Okay, so grab one of your paintbrushes that has come in one of your other kits and choose your color. I'm going to go with this Marigold. It's Alchemy by Fusion, blend of limestone, chalk, and acrylic. It's great paint. Love it. Super fun to use and to blend. If you have some other colors from some of your previous projects, it's also really fun to blend these colors so you can make this base look as interesting as you'd like to. Okay, so I've painted that baseboard. Now I'm going to paint these. So I find the easiest way to do this is just grab any smallish paintbrush. One I have handy right here is one I'll use. And so I'm going to paint these in a light color for the base of our ghosts. Now you can also, if you want to, paint the base light and this top little bauble black for when you poke through for the eyes and the mouth. I find sometimes it's hard to line up that way, so I'm just going to paint the whole thing in a light color. Don't want to use that one though, because that's actually going to go in someone's kit. I'll use my own. There we go. All right. Okay, and then you're just going to paint these. It's just a rough paint. It doesn't have to be anything beautiful or fancy. We just want to make sure that if we have any spots that are showing through after we make our clay ghosts, that they're all the same color. Okay, so carry on, get all three of those painted. So one of the things you're going to notice with this alchemy paint that's so different from the regular fusion paint is that it does not dry nearly as fast. So, which is amazing because it gives you a little open time if you want to do blending or different techniques with it. It's great for that. But just keep that in mind when you're doing it. You can see this is still wet. If I had used the regular fusion 100% acrylic, this would definitely be dry by now. So once everything is dry, you're going to start working on making your ghosts. So what I like to do is just set this aside for a few minutes, let it all dry. You need at least one of these molds to be dry enough on the top that we can start using it to make our ghost. Okay, so again, in your kit, you're going to have three separate balls of this foam modeling clay. Again, it's air dry. It is super fun to squish and play with. Sometimes I just grab a little bit out of my bucket and squish it like a stress ball. It's great. So just make sure it's nice and pliable. And you're gonna just start, gonna kind of roll it around a little bit here, get it a little bit smoother. Then you're just gonna start pressing it out. So we are looking for something that is circle shaped and flat, okay? So you can start working it out with your fingers. The great thing is if at any point you tear it or you're not liking the shape that you're getting, just ball it back up, start all over again. You have quite a lot of working time with this. It does not dry that fast. And so you can see I ripped that by pulling too hard. I just folded it over and started pushing it back. And then this is where you can also use your brayer. Okay? So just like you're rolling out dough. Okay? I like to go from the center and just keep rolling. Now, what's really fun is these uneven edges. So if you can think, we're going to have this sort of ghost that's going to drape down, something like that, except we're going to want it longer. So having those little uneven edges is great. Okay. And now that's stuck together, so I can just do that. And then, so what we're working for again is something roundish, sort of a circle, and similar thickness all the way around. You can see here, got maybe a little bit too much of a dent there, more than I want. Okay. It's quite elastic, but if you take it and pull it apart, you will create a tear in it. So just be prepared for that. All right, now I am a big fan of texture. So I love the sort of lumpy bumpy in here. If you don't, you certainly can roll it and make it thinner and smoother. Okay. Then take one of your little forms here. This one's dry enough. Good. The only reason you need it dry enough is just so the wet paint doesn't stick to the inside of this. It just makes it hard if you need to take it off and reshape it. All right. So this is going to be the head of our ghost. What we want is enough here for this to be draped over the top and sort of come to the ground, the table, the base. All right. Okay, so find about the center, put that on about the center there, give it a little drape. Okay, I can see by looking here, I maybe need a little bit more stretch in this, so I'll do that. I want to try to make it maybe just a little bit bigger around. Okay, and here you can see I've created a little hole here. I'm going to just fold it over, squeeze it together. Okay, and it's got the same thing here. Fold it over, squeeze it together, and that just disappears nicely. It's very forgiving. Again, if you get yourself into some wonky shape or it's just not working, ball it back up and start all over again. Lots of open time. All right. Okay. Now this foam clay, as always, I have paint all over my hands. This stuff does pick up everything. So, which is why we have this light color that we're going to use to help paint it when it's all dry. All right. So let's have another look at that. Let's find about the center. And yeah, that's looking great. Okay. So we want that to be able to stand up on that base, and then you're going to just start forming it. So you want it to come down in little sheets. Okay, you can see here what's happened. I got a little hole. I'm gonna squeeze it together and just pinch it. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna just make sure that we're not creating big holes anywhere. Okay, and we want this to drape. And however we leave it when it drapes, that's how it's going to dry, and it's going to keep that shape. Okay, so I also like to try to figure out if I have maybe a front or a back that I like the best. Okay, so I perhaps made this one a little too long, but I'm going to just go with it because I like it. That's the great thing about crafting little pieces of art. You just do what you like. All right, there. Loving that. Okay, looking very ghosty to me. Now, what I like to do is just make sure I get it smoothed over the rounded part on the form. That's the one part that I do like to have a little bit smoother, is that little head. Okay. And you can even use your brayer a bit if you need to. There you go. Okay. Okay, loving this. Yep. Okay, that's definitely how I'm gonna be having it, is like that. So cute. Then I like to just take end of a paintbrush and we're gonna create a little eyeball and then another little eyeball like that. And right now with these, we're just making dents in there. You're not trying to carve it out. We're just making dents in there that we can add some black paint to when we're ready to do that. And then we'll give it a mouth. I like to usually make the mouth a little bit more oval so it looks like they're saying boo, like that. There we go. Okay, now we are going to wait for this to dry, which is going to take until tomorrow. So I'll come back when this is dry and then we'll start painting this little beauty. All right, so our lovely little ghosties have sat about 12 hours. They are dry enough to paint. You can see that they're fairly solid now. They sit like that. They're still a little spongy, but that's totally fine. This foam clay never gets really completely hard. So there we go. Now we are going to just paint them so we can even up the color on them. You're just going to take your light colored paint that you have in your kit and just go ahead and paint all of the foam. And then once we do that, we will go in and make some black eyes and a mouth. All right. All right, it is time for us to do our eyes and our mouth. So these have been painted now with a light color. You can see they're all uniform looking on the outside. Now I use the same artist brush that I used to poke those holes in originally. I used that same one, and we're just using the hard end, not the brush end. So after I've shaken up my black paint, I usually just use what's left in the lid. After a good shake, make sure you don't have paint all over your hands when you pick up your little ghost, and you're just going to go directly back into those original holes that you created. There we go. This one I want to get a little bit more in there. There we go. And there is our absolutely adorable little ghosties. Let's do this last one. Now, you can have fun with these. You can pick up some of those little plastic spiders from the dollar store and stick those into the foam. They actually stick in there quite nicely. I absolutely hate spiders, so I'm not doing that. But what I did instead is I just grabbed a couple of bugs I had from one of my Iron Orchid design, pardon me, sorry, my phone just fell there. One of my Iron Orchid design transfers, one that has some bugs on it. Not really something I've ever used very often, but perfect for this. So I added those on to here. You could also glue some little bats on here, some spiders on here, whatever you want to make it fun. Or if you're just going for something super cute, you can do your cute little ghosties and add in some pumpkins or some witches, some little stickers on here. All right, so you can, if you want to, glue these on. I prefer not to, just makes it easier to store it away seasonally if you can take it away in parts, and they sit on there really nicely anyway. So we're gonna put that one there. We'll put this little cutie here and this little doll right here. And there we go. Your Halloween project is complete. So cute.